So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this workshop. I am Sara Pittonet from Trust IT Services, and I have the pleasure and the honor to be the Blue Cloud coordinator. The workshop today is organized around two main sessions. So we'll enter now a first part, introducing the Blue Cloud and its virtual research environment. Nicolas Segebar, the policy officer for Blue Cloud from the Healthy Oceans and Seas unit at European Commission, would have loved to be with us today, but unfortunately fallen sick. So we wish him all the very best for a swift recovery, but he cannot be with us today. I will go through a quick overview and an introduction about the Blue Cloud project, and then I'll leave the floor to Dick Schaap, technical coordinator of Blue Cloud, who will set the scene of the marine data landscape in the framework of the Blue Cloud project. And then I'll pass the floor to Pasquale Pagano, CNR, who will introduce the Blue Cloud lab. We'll then allow you a short coffee break, and then we'll reconvene for the second part, dedicated to the Blue Cloud demonstrators. You'll follow three dynamic presentations about the Blue Cloud demonstrators. We'll start with those dedicated to fisheries and aquaculture, and Anton Ellenbroek from FAO will present them. We'll then pass the floor to Pavla Debelkak from the Sorbonne University and Patricia Martin-Cabrera VLIZ to introduce you the two demonstrators on plankton, biodiversity and genomics. And then we'll leave the floor to Massimiliano Drudi, CMCC, to present the marine environmental indicators demonstrators. We'll then be guided into a 30 minutes open moderated discussions, but some of the experts that collaborate with our project. We'll have Linda Furden from GIS and Statistical Analysis Specialist at FAO GFCM, Sheila Hymans, Executive Director of the European Marine Board, Robert Hubert, Marine Geologist and Information Specialist at Marum, and Jaime Piera, Chair of the European Citizen Science Associations. The workshop will then close with the presentation of the Blue Cloud Roadmap to 2030 by Kate Larkin and Vera from Schaap, Belgium. So a little bit of housekeeping, I mean, all things that you probably already know so far. So if you want, feel free to add your name and affiliations to Zoom to facilitate the interaction. Mute your microphones when not speaking, and turn your sound system and ensure you properly hear well. The event will be recorded, so feel free to turn off your camera if you don't want to be filmed. We have a question and answer box where you can already type your question, and then we'll have a moderated discussion where you can also raise your hand and you'll be invited to ask your question. And the slides and recordings will be available in a couple of days maximum on the Blue Cloud website. If you want to follow us on social media, please use the handle bluecloud.eu. And I thought it might be interesting for you to know who is joining the audience today. So almost half of the audience we have today comes from research and academia, while we have very good representations also from the blue data infrastructures and research infrastructures, from international organizations, and for policy and decision makers. So with that, I wish you a very productive workshop, and let's start. So Blue Cloud is the flagship initiative of the Horizon 2020 Future of the Seas and Oceans program of the European Commission, and aims to promote the sharing of data, processes and research findings in the marine domain by delivering a collaborative web-based environment that enables open science, underpinned by simplified access to an unprecedented wealth of marine data resources and interoperable added value services and products. The project started in October 2019 and features 20 partners and 13 blue federated infrastructures. So January 2021 marked the official start of the Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, launched by the United Nations to encourage decision makers to invest in ocean science and find innovative solutions to tackle major challenges such as global change. As part of the Future of the Seas and Oceans flagship initiative, Blue Cloud is working on a practical approach to showcase the potential of cloud-based open science for marine research. We'll see today how the Blue Cloud Cyber Platform responds to the European Commission Digital Twin of the Oceans action need to integrate a wide range of data sources, to transform data into knowledge, and to connect, engage, and empower citizens, governments, and industries. While we'll also see that the 5 Blue Cloud demonstrators address different areas of ocean science and are expected to showcase significant benefits for researchers as well decision makers and society, at least in 3 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So 2, zero hunger, 13, climate action, and 14, life below water. Blue Cloud is federating leading European horizontal infrastructures, so such as EUDAT, D4Science, Copernicus DS, and Wikio, with long-term marine data management infrastructures to create a trusted virtual space, the Blue Cloud technical framework, where scientists can access ocean data, the tools, the services, and the outputs they need to perform research in a more efficient way. One of the key components of this technical framework are the Blue Cloud virtual research environments that provide computing platforms and analytical services facilitating collaboration. In particular, each Blue Cloud VRE includes services that facilitate collaboration between users, services that support the execution of analytical tasks embedded in a distributed computing infrastructure, and services that allow the co-creation of new virtual labs for new working environments. The 5 Blue Cloud demonstrators are being developed, making use of existing services and also driving further development of additional Blue Cloud services. The demonstrators that you will meet today have been selected as applications that are specific for oceans and seas, and are necessary for marine research, conservation, forecasting, and innovation. They address specific challenges in biodiversity, genomics, environment, fisheries, and aquaculture domains. So the Blue Cloud Service Platform features a variety of services that can be used for undertaking world-class science via the European Open Science Cloud framework as well. The cyber platform provides, for instance, fair access to multidisciplinary data, tools, and computing storage facilities, but it also works as a thematic EOSC model for the development of other thematic clouds. Blue Cloud also offers a methodology for researchers interacting with infrastructure developers to establish services and tools that support multiple scientific challenges. Blue Cloud also offers a mechanism to easily access and discover blue data, and partners manage so important volumes of data, and links have been established with major European networks and data providers to increase this volume. And the services showcased through the demos make innovative and seamless access to these multidisciplinary data and tools. Last but not least, Blue Cloud is contributing to the EOSC policy vision with dynamic examples how this framework can address one or several of the societal challenges defined in several policy strategy directives at European level as well as global level. And Blue Cloud is also bringing EOSC in the blue economy long-term vision thanks to the policy-oriented roadmap to 2013. Since the launch of the project, we have proactively worked to establish a partnership between a variety of actors to create long-lasting relationships and ensure the Blue Cloud long-term visions is taken forward, and also to contribute to the strategic roadmap to 2030. So the invitation here is for all of you representing international and European organizations to get in touch with us and continue this discussion. Last but not least, the Blue Cloud roadmap will be the policy document providing the basis for the future strategic development of Blue Cloud, well embedded as a leading system in the wider marine framework and as a component of the European Open Science Cloud. So in the second part of the workshop, you'll learn more about this strategic approach towards evolving the efforts in around some key pillars and contributing to the successful uptake of web-based open science in the marine domain. And with that, I welcome you to the All-Atlantic Research and Innovation for a Sustainable Ocean Ministerial High-Level and Stakeholder Conference that will take place on the 3rd and 4th of June this year as a digital event. So we will be looking forward to meet you there. Thank you very much. And I now leave the floor to Dick Schaap. Dick, over to you.
Unmute. Sorry, that was not clear. I hope you can see my full screen.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay, very good. Good morning, everybody. I want to tell you a little bit about the European marine data landscape, especially data management landscape, and of course the relation with the Blue Cloud initiative. And first of all, the oceans and the seas, they are very important. They are determining a lot of things in our life. For instance, the climate, for energy, for food, for tourism, for trade, for health. So there are many reasons, let's say, why we want to know more about the oceans and the seas. And for this purpose, let's say, we are collecting a lot of data in many ways. It could be by remote sensing, let's say satellite, and by planes. It could be by ships, research vessels, voluntary vessels. It could be by gliders. It could be by fixed objects. It could be by sensors underwater, at the seabed, etc. So there are many ways, let's say, that we are collecting a lot of data from the sea, and that is going on for quite some decades. And there was a study about 10 years ago at the start of EBUTnet, where we assessed that, or estimated that we spent around 1.4 billion a year in Europe to collect data from the sea. And that's, let's say, done by science, but also by governments for managing and the environment, and also done by industry, because there are many operations at sea which also require data. And if you split this 1.4 is about 1 billion for in situ data and 0.4 for remote sensing, like satellite programs. And of course, these numbers are a little bit, let's say, with a big thumb. It's an estimate, but it gives you some impression what we are collecting. And that means that that there is a lot of, let's say, there's a lot of reason why we should have a good data management to make use of all these data. If we look at uses, data is being used for many purposes. One, of course, is science. We want to gain more knowledge and insight in the oceans and the systems and the processes. We can do that by modeling, and modeling not only hindcasting and nowcasting, but also forecasting, so that we have a better idea what's coming, especially for weather or for waves or for currents. We have a lot of economic activities at sea, like shipping, offshore industry, dredging industry, there's fisheries, tourism, engineering. So in many ways we are making use, or we are working in that environment. And for that we need to know the conditions for design, but also, let's say, for later for the operations. We have environmental management. We want to have clean seas. We want to, and for that we have to monitor, we have to assess the quality. And not only the quality of the water, but also, let's say, the biota and the stocks, etc., so that we have a very good understanding of that system. And to help us, or let's say to organize the environmental management on a regional scale, or also on a European and an international scale, we have a lot of conventions and directives, like the Water Framework, the Marine Strategy, the Marine Spatial Planning, Coastal Zone, so various, let's say, directives and policies. And all these policies and all these strategies, like the Green Deal, the Blue Environment, Blue Economy, they all need data and information and knowledge. And for that reason, let's say this, all this data that we are collecting has a very good use and a big range of users. That also means that from for several decades already, let's say, we are building a European landscape with marine data management infrastructures. And this is an image that was made by Eurogoose already quite some years ago. But it shows you, let's say, a little bit the building that we have in Europe. On the lower half, you see all the collectors of information and operators of instruments, but also operators of networks and operational oceanography networks and other types of data collection by science, by cruises. Then we have in the middle, we have the aggregators, those who bring together that information from the originators, data originators, and then make it ready for further use. And for further use, let's say there are several layers in the building where we go from data to products, from products, let's say, to knowledge, and finally to use and to decisions. And that's illustrated in this poster. And if you look at the middle part, let's say there are several data aggregators and providers of added value products and services, which have been built over, I would say, decades in Europe. An important one is CDataNet. CDataNet is a network from the National Oceanographic Data Centers. And over time, it has expanded. It now has more than 110 data centers that are all, let's say, active in gathering the data that's being collected in situ and remote sensing, and to make this data more harmonized, available by discovery and access. And that's illustrated in this one. Then we have another very important initiative that was started about 10 years ago, or 11 years ago, EMUDnet. And this is more focused on using all this data and then turn it into, let's call it, European products and services, which are very useful. So one example is that we have now a digital bathymetry for all the European seas, which is based on all the survey data that we have available, together with also JEPCO information that we have available. And there are also, let's say, products which are very much directed towards the marine strategy, especially in the chemical domain, giving us more outlook on the chemical conditions on a European scale and the changes over time, and also, let's say, to be able to assess the effects of measures. Another important infrastructure is the Copernicus, the marine service. And this was also started about 10 years ago. Let's say, beginning it was research projects and with an initiative by Eurogoose to start working with the models, and over time, let's say, it became quite a strong building, I would say, a very good service. And it produces forecast and nowcast, and it uses a lot of in situ data, but also it uses, of course, let's say, Sentinel images, the satellite information, together with big models, to be able to have a service which is worldwide, providing very good products, which are being used by a lot of different user groups. In addition to all these, let's say, we also have several other infrastructures that were built, several as part of the ESFRI calendar, let's say, research infrastructures like Elixir, Ecotaxa in the biota domain, ENA, Argo, which is more like a network for ocean floaters, but it creates a lot of extra data. There's also Pangea, which is a very important publisher of scientific information, and also having a very big database of from several cruises and scientific, let's say, projects and European projects. And then we have ICOS, which is more in the atmospheric and the carbon domain. But all these, let's say, all these infrastructures together, let's say, they work together. They are more and more getting, let's say, interoperable and following the FAIR principles. And that was one of the reasons why the time was ripe and to start the Blue Cloud initiative. Also because the thinking is that all these infrastructures, they are in fact organizing part of the data offer, and they are producing certain services and certain products. But you can also always go one step higher, because if you could combine all these data sets from different disciplines, and you could combine all these facilities with different, let's say, applications, analytical functionalities, then you're able, let's say, to even get more out of the information and get more knowledge out of it. And that's why the Blue Cloud initiative was started, in fact, to explore and to demonstrate the potential of cloud-based open science. So bringing together all these services and data in a cloud-based environment, and then to deploy a cyber platform in the cloud where we do a smart federation of the data, of the tools, and of the computing facilities, because you also need big computing facilities to be able to handle all these big data sets. And while doing this, let's say we are demonstrating this, making, showing what's possible, opening the road to more, you would say. And also we, at the same time, we also are supporting the development of the European Open Science Cloud, EOSC. And we see the Blue Cloud as a thematic example, how the EOSC could turn into a thriving community with multidisciplinary research for many researchers in Europe and worldwide. And this way, it not only serving science, but also serving the blue economy, and also serving, let's say, the marine environment and the marine knowledge agendas. So if we look at the Blue Cloud, the overarching concept is, I would say, over time has developed. First of all, we focused on discovery and access, and that's something that we already have been doing with these research infrastructures and these blue data infrastructures. So bringing together data and giving access to data from many sources. In that process, developing very good metadata, also developing more and more semantic interoperability, by which all these services become more and more fair, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And that's, let's say, the base of the pyramid. That means that we are applying standards, and by these standards, we are harmonizing all this data and the services. And then on top of that, we are developing now, let's say, a virtual research environment in which we are able to use all this data, but also analytical processes and the computing power to get more out of these data sets and turn them into, let's say, products, but also turn them into knowledge. And this will be, of course, presented today. First of all, you will get more information from Lino, our colleague from CNR, about the VRE, the virtual research environment, the platform. And then there will be several presentations about these workflows and processes that are making use of the platform, making use of the data to create additional added value products and services, which are very useful for, say, our environment, but also for our knowledge about the environment and for our science. For this purpose, let's say we were able, let's say, to make a lot of people enthusiastic. So we really challenged several infrastructures to join this Blue Cloud initiative, and that has resulted in the blue data infrastructures on the left that are part of the federation. And on the right, we see some e-infrastructures like UDAT and Bluebridge and Vecchio, who also joined and brought in their specific services. And the key products and services that we are developing and which over time are becoming available. First of all, we have an overarching data discovery and access service to be able to have some sort of an overarching discovery over the different blue data infrastructures. So make it easier for you to, if you don't know all these individual ones, let's say, to have a common interface to those. Secondly, we have this virtual research environment infrastructure, and then on top of that, we are developing several virtual labs, which will be presented today. Overall, let's say I want to conclude by saying that it's Blue Cloud is a very challenging adventure. It's also very timely. Let's say we are working more from home, but it also means that we can work more in the cloud, and also we are working with big data services, which we cannot bring home anymore, not to the office, but we have to work in the cloud. And this is just the initial pilot, but we have the feeling that there's much more to gain over time, and the roadmap, let's say, especially will look into that future, what we can do to create, let's say, a larger expanding Blue Cloud and having a thriving economy, a thriving community of people all on board of the Blue Cloud initiative. And not only those who are now in this pilot, but really to make it bigger than what it is now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dick. And since you've mentioned that one of the Blue Cloud long-lasting legacies and one of the key assets is the Blue Cloud used for research environment, and now I'll give the floor to Pasquale Pagano from CNR, who will introduce us the lab. Pasquale?
Hello, everybody. I will present now the first environment that has been designed to to let you try and use the Blue Cloud facilities, but also, it's conceived to let you contribute your data and your analytical methods, if you want, in such a way, to collaborate and enrich this environment that is open and free. So as Dick presented, we start, this project to build, a trusted virtual space where scientists can contribute, can access the data, but can also contribute, tools and services. And the idea is and the aim of the project is to provide an homogeneous and simplified access to distributed marine data resources. You have seen from Dick's presentation, how many data infrastructure we are federating. And through this data infrastructure will be possible to access, for example, the Sentinel data or the Copernicus marine, land, and atmosphere data from Wikio, but also, many others, data like, the data collected and provided by Imonet, by CDetNet, by Euroargo, IGOS Marine, and so on. But it's not only, to provide access to data, but also, to provide access to computing resources and services. So for this, we are federating services from many digital infrastructures, and starting from the European Open Science Cloud, but also, EGI, UDAT, the computational and storage resources from Wikio, and all of them are orchestrated and made accessible through the D4Science infrastructure that integrate, standard tools and that many users, many researchers already use on their desktop, but we made, them integrated in the digital infrastructure in such a way that you can easily access and exploit them on large computational resources like, Jupyter Hub, RStudio, an analytics engine, and so on. And on top of these, by using these resources and this tool, we created these virtual laboratories. So the one that I'm going to present in terms of services is the Blue Cloud Lab. That is our offer, that is an open environment to everyone outside the consortium, to start looking at the facilities that we have already integrated in the Blue Cloud VLA. And then, after the coffee break, you will see the other virtual laboratories that we have created, to satisfy specific needs as presented by Sara. So there is one common vision across all laboratories that we build in the Blue Cloud VLA, and this, the one that promotes open science. And the idea is to support, collaboration, to simplify the collaboration between researchers, and to simplify this collaboration to enable and to facilitate, sharing not only of the data that they produce, of the products that they generate, but also of the methods, analytical methods that they use, and also of the notebooks or, of the scripts, everything that is useful in the research to make all these assets that the researchers use, more fair. So to make possible to reuse computational methods, notebooks, data that scientists use. And this is, also to promote the reproducibility of a science. So in our environment, you can access and execute, for example, one experiment today, and then you will be able to come, in 1 year time from now, and repeat the same experiment with the same version of the data, with the same version of the script, of the code that you use, to execute it and to compare the results with other methods that we have developed, in this year. So how it works, the Blue Cloud Lab, it provides access.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think, oh, okay. No, because your slides were blocked, I think.
Oh, sorry.
But now I can see this. Okay, great. Okay. Sorry.
So the services it provides access are essentially four, starting from the Jupyter Hub, the RStudio environment, an analytics engine, and one catalog. And all the services share, one common and unique workspace. And this, the idea is to offer to the users, more services and more computational and storage resources than the ones that they can use on their own facilities, to support and facilitate, the collaboration with other scientists, but, in the same time, to offer the same tools that they can use easily on their desktop in such a way that they don't need to acquire new knowledge, but they can use their technical knowledge, in a just more performant environment. I hope that you see now another slide, okay? So this common workspace is just a working area that looks like a normal file system that you can access from your browser on the web, but you can access also from all the other environments that we have developed and they integrate. And in this area, you can store your data, your scripts, your methods, your notebooks, and then you can keep them private to yourself, but you can also decide to share these assets, with your colleagues, or to share with all members of the virtual laboratories. Then from this workspace, you have also a contextual menu with a number of specific functions that allow you to easily publish this data in the catalog, for example, or the method in the catalog, or for example, to synchronize, your netcdf files in a threads server in such a way that you can access with OpenDAP, for example. The notebook, I believe that, many of you already know how to use them, and to use in the laboratory, it's very easy. You just log in to the Blue Cloud Lab, and then from the home of the laboratory, you just click on the Jupyter Hub, and you see that you can choose your configuration of the notebook. This configuration is up to 52 gigabytes of RAM, so it's quite big in terms of computing resources, but also it's not only a matter of computing resources, but also the fact that it's already pre-configured with the libraries and packages that are commonly used, in the marine community. And then you choose, to launch your notebook, and you can select, Python, Java, R, Julia, any, common language. And then, when you start, you see in the notebook environment, the workspace that I mentioned before, so you can easily save back the result in your workspace and share with your colleagues. The same is for RStudio. RStudio, you go to the home, you click RStudio, you get access to an environment that allow you to enter your R code, to execute it, to exploit, tools for plotting or table view for CSV file, for example. And also this environment is already pre-configured with the libraries and packages that allow you to easily perform your data analytics task. Also in this case, you have access to the workspace. And as for the notebooks, you can save back your results in order to share them with other users. Sorry. For the analytics engine, you can access to this engine. There are a number of methods already contributed by the users that are, analytical methods that you can use to analyze your data. But you can also import your script and your specific method, easily through the software importer that is an interface that allows you to guide you in the import phase. This is not just another cloud computing platform, because in this platform, you know, any execution can be repeated, it can be compared, you know, and discussed a lot with other users, because, you know, we automatically generate provenance information. And so thanks to this provenance data, you know, any execution can be repeated exactly, or can be repurposed, you know, by changing the input parameters. And you can also, you know, benefit from the fact that any script that you import, acquiring, you know, is accessible through a WPF, that is a standard web processing service interface, in such a way that your method, you know, can be combined with other methods, you know, in a more complex workflows. When you are happy of your result, of your method, of the products that you have generated, you can decide to publish. And when you publish, you can decide to publish them as private or public items in the catalog. There is a review phase made by an administrator that control, you know, what you have published in the virtual laboratory. And you can publish any service or data set you generated, and as soon as you publish them, you get, you know, a persistent URL to access your asset. You get a QR code to refer to it. If you decide also to make this asset, you know, public accessible in Zenodo, a DOI is automatically generated, and clearly we are completely interoperable with EOSC, and the metadata format that we have selected are the same, you know, as the ones that are used by EOSC. So to conclude, Blue Cloud Lab is open. You can join, you know, this environment by following this link. And when you join the environment, you don't need, you know, to create a new account. I mean, if you want to, you can, but you can also use your academic credential or your LinkedIn, Google, Twitter, and GitHub account. If you need any help, for example, if you need specific packages in the notebook environment or in our studio, you can open a request. There is a little vertical button in the Blue Cloud Lab that report, you know, that allow you to access the help center, where you can open a request, a support request, you know, to request, you know, the packages that you need. So that's all, you know, for the Blue Cloud Lab.
Thank you very much, Lino. And in fact, we will be also publishing some additional materials and information online in the next weeks to allow access and new registration to the VLIZ. And we now stop for a short break, since in the second part of the workshop, we'll give the floor to our demonstrators that will show how they've adapted and used the VLIZ for their research purposes. So since we are a bit late in the agenda, I suggest we only have a 5-minute break. So we'll reconvene at 11:45, but we'll have some dynamic presentations with videos as well. So I'm sure we will keep you, we will animate the session. So thank you, and you can leave your, I mean, Zoom as it is, just feel free to take a break, and see you in 5 minutes. I hope you managed to relax a few seconds. Thanks for the comments that are coming in the chat. by the way. So let's start the second part. I give the floor to Anton Ellenbroek from VLIZ. And we will start with the demonstrators about fisheries and aquaculture. Of course, feel free to ask any questions you might have already in the chat, to raise your hands. We'll keep them for the discussion time later on. So, Anton, are you back? Yeah, I don't see him. So, or we move to the second session while we wait for Anton, or maybe we start with the. I know we have a video. No, Anton, yeah.
Yeah, Anton is there.
Is there? Oh, sorry. Okay. So let's start. I know we have a video for this session, so I suggest to start with that. Great.
Fish, a matter of scales, is a Blue Cloud demonstrator for the fisheries community. It is fully integrated in the D4Science infrastructure. The lab shares services with the Fisheries Atlas, and together they form Demonstrator 4. In this presentation, we will show how Global Record of Stocks and Fisheries, the GRSF, can support data services for the fisheries community. The virtual lab is used to harmonize stocks and fisheries data across 3 data sources: the FAO Firms Fisheries and Resources Monitoring System, the RAM Legacy Stock Assessment Database, and FishSource. The GRSF is developed and maintained by the Foundation for Research and Technology, FORTH, and by D4Science. It is important to note that the data services available in the GRSF are developed under open data and open access principles. Let's have a look at how data are prepared and shared in the GRSF. The Open Global Record of Stocks and Fisheries, the GRSF, is accessible through a map and a registry. Users can select a fish stock or a fishery and view details. From here, you can access the complete record in the Blue Cloud registry. Scroll the record page to browse the variety of information available, including time series. We can share links to the entire record through a QR code and the unique identifier. The GRSF is the Blue Cloud digital answer to support stakeholders working to achieve SDGs, in particular, Indicator 14.4.1, proportion of fish stocks within biologically sustainable levels, and to improve seafood traceability and certification. The GRSF contains information that can support catch documentation schemes, eco-labeling schemes, and sustainable fisheries. To understand a complex food system, you first need to know where the fish come from, and the GRSF has that information. The Blue Cloud infrastructure is also used to deliver secure data preparation services for fisheries and aquaculture. We only make data accessible after expert validation. The GRSF uses semantic technologies and adheres to global standards so as to be interoperable with third-party applications. You can already see the public GRSF data online via D4Science, the e-infrastructure at the core of Blue Cloud services. FAO collaborates in the firm's partnership with more than 20 organizations worldwide to improve the global monitoring of marine fishery resources. The GRSF is under the governance of the firm's partnership, and thanks to Blue Cloud, the community can now access and share reliable and standardized information on thousands of stocks and fisheries. As future development enabled by Blue Cloud, it will be possible to analyze stocks and fisheries in an ecosystem context by showing environmental layers, and from a nutrition perspective by linking with relevant information on fish nutritional profiles from Food and Nutrition Security Cloud. Stay tuned.
Okay, thanks for this short video. Can I get the screen now for the rest of the presentation? Okay, can you confirm you see my entire screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so very quickly, this was an introduction to GRSF. This is one of the tasks we have in two VLIZ. So FVO is involved in fisheries and aquaculture with two related data workflows, fish and metric of scales, and an aquaculture monitor demonstrator. And the short presentation you will see now is not only made by me, but in fair company of Ifremer, Forth, IID, and CLS, all partners in the Blue Cloud at the demonstrator part. Oh, sorry, my screen freezes. It stays at the first slide in my, and it disappears again. So for the vision we share in the Blue Cloud is to have open science for open minds. And the screen you see now is one of another parallel activity where on the right you see that we already use GRSF, the user unique identifiers, to make a link to food composition data. This is not a Blue Cloud activity, but you show that we are picking up on this activity in parallel projects.
Anton, there's
yes.
Again.
I have to share again, sorry.
You can't see your screen somehow.
I don't know what goes wrong here. Now it's better, but you see this, yes, okay. In design mode, and I go to presentation mode. So in the Blue Cloud, so we have this vision to interoperate in our tools and services with data coming from other VLIZ to show that we have this federation and that we can access data from other teams. So for instance, in a food composition table system that we developed also in collaboration with FNS Cloud, a parallel EOSC starting cloud, we see that we use data from the GRSF, what was just presented in the video, with data coming from the workspace of Blue Cloud and data coming from another VLIZ in the Blue Cloud. So the goal is then to also access data from other data providers, of OWIS for species names, FNS Cloud for the FoodX2 codes, etc., and also data coming from FAO directly. So we all have this vision to interoperate with external services for food systems analytics. So across FAO, FNS Cloud, WORMS, and other data providers based on FAIR principles. So this will lead to a VLIZ for open science collaboration, where Blue Cloud services enable fair enough collaboration through, for instance, the registries in the Blue Cloud, but then also the infrastructures with that embed already for FAO and OGC compliant spatial data infrastructure. You see an example at the bottom of this globe that is an STI based fisheries map. Then we have integrated data services where we use, for instance, our Shiny for statistic applications. That is the third little image on the bottom where you see FAO statistics in the little graphs, and integrated access to infrastructures, for instance, Copernicus data for cage detection, a small image on the bottom right. But most of all, we see this as a tool to enable a community collaboration where the FAO firm's partnership with 30+ organizations also is engaged in the governance of the VLIZ task that we are engaged in. So with this fair data and OGC standards, we developed this metadata-driven map vision that are already used to have traceable data for traceable fish. And a GRSF beta was released in October 2020 that we continuously update with new content when it comes available from the data providers. It is already integrated in the infrastructure, and if you're not shy, you can give it a try at the link that I also shared in the chat. The Global Tuna Atlas is co-funded through FAO, IID, And H2020, it is the IOC OGC compliant global tuna catch from 1950 to present, built with open source R tools like GeoFlow and the OpenFair viewer, which has resulted in reliable, reusable and sustainable workflows to publish data coming from a variety of organizations that publish tuna data. The Global Tuna Atlas will be released once we have approval of the contributing organizations, which is not an easy task. And again, we want to repeat that collaboration with communities is very important before you publish anything on any platform, but that is also true for the Blue Cloud. Another way we use the Blue Cloud infrastructure is to support our understanding of the Sustainable Development Goals, especially SDG 14, where we have developed a web-based stock monitoring tool based on R-Shiny for data limited methods and some e-learning and hands-on community training. This has been used in various FAO trainings across the globe. We use here Docker for lightweight cloud deployment of the software, and we interact with the DeepScience data miner and the workspace. Another tool that we are developing is the Fisheries Atlas, and here we want to bring fisheries data into a more ecosystem perspective by putting a fair amount of work to integrate spatial data sets across ecology, environmental data, stock monitoring indexes, etc. And here you see in the bottom, we use R-Shiny again, also to display the FAO statistics. The time series of catch over the past 60 years are all accessible now through the Blue Cloud. Another area where we work in is the aquaculture detection and aquaculture monitoring. This is an example how we use Sentinel data. This is a work done by CLS in France, where they have developed an algorithm to detect individual cages, and then we enrich the information of those on those locations with information on specific locations. So we do this with a focus on Tunisia, where we have an area over Monastir, where we have detected cages using the Sentinel-1, and we now work with the communities to develop a tool where the individual communities can edit the cage activities before they publish it for a wider audience. So the full control of what we make available in the cages is in the hands of the local organizations and not by FAO. So the main advantage we see is the flexibility of the data services. And these are just a few examples of how we went fishing for data in the Blue Cloud infrastructure. And we show this through the OpenFair viewer made available by FAO. So thank you very much for a very quick introduction to the interest FAO has in the use of the Blue Cloud. And we think it's a good platform for especially community-based analytics of marine and environmental data. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Anton, for this effective presentation. And now we give the floor to Pavla Debelkak from the Sorbonne University, who will guide us through the Plankton Genomics demonstrator.
I would like to welcome you to my presentation of the demonstrator 2, so the Plankton Genomics, which is a collaborative effort between Sorbonne Université, the EMBL, and VLIZ. So to just briefly introduce Plankton Genomics, so there have been multiple sequencing projects that are unlocking the genetic potential and diversity of plankton. So when we talk about plankton, we mainly think about the morphological diversity, but in this case, we're talking about the genetic signals, so DNA or RNA. However, we are still only scratching the surface of this diversity in the ocean. So recent data from the Tara Oceans expedition, which took place 2009 to 2012, actually showed that for marine eukaryotes, so this includes phytoplankton and zooplankton, about 50% of these sequences cannot be matched to any existing database. This is a map of these exhibitions and the different size classes at 68 different locations across different marine oceanic provinces. And it has unfortunately become common practice to discard this large part of data that cannot be identified through public databases. So the Plankton Genomics demonstrator is focusing on 2 notebooks and on this discovery of unknown biodiversity. These notebooks are implemented in the Blue Cloud virtual research environment. And in notebook 1, there's specific observation of unknown biodiversity from unassigned genetic signals, the co-occurrence with known biodiversity in environmental context. And notebook 2 is based on the identified unknowns in notebook 1 and more detailed into niche modeling and the biogeography of these unknown biodiversity. The data sets that are used in the beta version of the notebooks comprise the biggest eukaryotic plankton database built from metagenomic and metatranscriptomic sequences. These are available through the ENA, so the European Nucleotide Archive, and the Elixir project. The link I can provide in the question and answers. And these are combining information on biogeographic distribution and providing data for global ocean modeling and are accessible through the Blue Cloud. So the notebook 1 is the discovery of the unknowns. It starts with 4 basic data files that are the annotated taxonomic part, the annotated functional part, the metagenomic part, so the overall genetic potential of planktonic organisms, and the metatranscriptomic part, so the overall genetic expression, so in some sense the activity of organisms. And notebook 1 contains Jupyter notebooks that analyze the known and the unknown fractions and are then passed onto our Markdown for statistical analysis and are finally published in the Blue Cloud catalog. So for a few examples, for instance, it provides plots on the ratio of unknown and knowns for metagenomic and metatranscriptomic by the depth layers of sampling. When we go into detail for a specific station, we can see here data for a station in the Southern Ocean compared to the North Atlantic. And these are plotted by the different size classes. So we see that there are unknowns in the different size classes that are represented differently at latitudinal occurrences. And finally, we can take these data sets and plot them on a world ocean map and look at where in which size class of interest for scientists we find most unknowns by differential coverage, so meaning by coverage in these huge gene catalogs. And these are then published in the VRE and can then be passed on to notebook 2. So in the Blue Cloud virtual environment, these are accessible through the Plankton Genomics demonstrator. And as I said before, we have these 4 data sets, which are the basis of the notebooks and the 2 notebooks that can be used in the beta version. And I will now pass on to demonstrator 1, who's going to talk about the more pronounced signals from phytoplankton. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patricia Cabrera, and I will show you the Blue Cloud demonstrator, zoo and phytoplankton essential ocean variables, EOSC products. The aim of this demonstrator is to derive global and regional zoo and phytoplankton biomass and diversity products using machine learning methods. The first steps consisted in compiling and processing several large-scale plankton and environmental data that are available from multiple European marine networks, to then apply big data analysis and machine learning methods to create innovative plankton products. We also use near real-time data to validate some of the products. The data, methods, and results obtained from the demonstrator are implemented in a Blue Cloud virtual lab, providing users the opportunity to explore the methodologies and data used in these products thanks to the different components like RStudio or Jupyter Hub in the VLab that is being implemented in the D4Science platform. The demonstrators consist in 3 parts that I will present separately in the next slides. The phytoplankton essential ocean variable products aims at deriving global ocean 3D chlorophyll A concentrations using machine learning techniques. A set of several input data sets were used to apply a neural network model that generates monthly global 3D chlorophyll A concentrations for the year 2018 and at 36 depth intervals. The figure represents winter, clearly showing the Austral summer bloom and also a decrease of the chlorophyll A with depth. The second part of the demonstrator, the zooplankton EOF products, aims at deriving gridded data products for zooplankton distributions using variational analysis and neural networks. A set of several input data sets were used to perform an interpolation using the tool DIVA-ND and a neural network model to generate maps of zooplankton distributions. In the plot on the right, we can observe how, after performing the interpolation, we obtain smoothed gridded field maps for one of the most abundant copepod species in the Northeast Atlantic. The last part of the demonstrator, modeling zoo and phytoplankton interactions, aims at understanding the drivers that limit phytoplankton abundance and spatiotemporal changes based on the nutrient, phytoplankton, zooplankton, and detritus model, NPZD model. Several input data sets were used to run this ecosystem mechanistic model that shows the relative contributions of each driver in phytoplankton abundances. Now, to access the demonstrator, a user needs to follow this link that takes you to the landing page of the virtual lab. This is the landing page of the zoo and phytoplankton essential ocean variable products virtual lab. And once you have registered, you have access to this, which is the main page. Now, the first thing to look at is the documentation. This is, as an example, the documentation for the zooplankton product. And here it guides you on how to use the demonstrator. There is also the documentation for the other parts of the demonstrator. Now, if we go back to the main page, we can also access to all the folders where all the files are integrated by going to the shared workspace. So here you can find the different folders. The DIVA-ND is for the zooplankton, the NPZD model for the interactions, and the chlorophyll A product for the phytoplankton part. Each of these folders contains all the necessary data and scripts to run the demonstrator. Now, as another example, we can also open the Jupyter Hub, and here it will show you from the workspace. You can access to the different notebooks. This is the notebook used for the interpolation and to get the plots. So, in conclusions, Plankton EOF products are available for users to explore the data, methodologies, and technologies available in the Blue Cloud virtual research environment. The demonstrator will be continuously updated, so regularly check the new features in the VRE. Like in the next version, we will include phytoplankton groups. Also, the integration of different data sources and technologies allows to see data-driven trends and to understand the interactions between the different EOFs. And collaborative virtual research environment have a large potential to boost scientific productivity. We invite everyone to have a look, review, and build further in these products. Thank you very much. And here you can see everyone involved in this work from the Flanders Marine Institute, the Laboratoire Océanographique sur Villafranche-sur-Mer, and Liège University. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both Pavla and Patricia. And now it's the turn to Massimiliano Drudi from CMCC presenting the Marine Environmental Indicators demonstrator. We see questions popping up in the chat. Thanks for that. We're trying to already address some of them. Massimiliano.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. And I'm presenting to you the Marine Environmental Indicators demonstrator. Some important initiatives for the scope of this demonstrator are the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, the Sustainable Development Goal, especially the number 14, the Global Ocean Observing System, and the Blue Growth European Strategy. And so the idea behind this demonstrator is to use the information which are available in the several marine data infrastructures and to deliver flexible solution to support the planning activity of the decision makers, and also to deliver new research tools for the scientific investigations. The demonstrator can generate climatological fields. This information is important to study the trend on different time scales. And so far it is possible to use as an input data source the Siemens medley analysis product. The output can be in form of maps and time series for different fields. Another output that the demonstrator can generate is the ocean patterns indicator. And in the workflow of this indicator, we have a data set of ocean profiles as input. And by applying unsupervised classification algorithm, it is possible to identify groups of profiles. Then the output, the different views as map or diagrams, can reveal space and time coherences of the profiles. The storm severity index is an atmospheric output. In this case, the input data source is the ERA5 dataset from the Climate Service. This algorithm can be applied to individual storm or to a season or to a specific area. And by extending the analysis to longer period of time, it is also possible to perform a climatological study and assess, for instance, the increase of severity. Marine carbon indicator. This is relevant for the ocean acidification and for the SDG 14.3. Now the priority for this indicator is to improve the harmonization of the data sources. That is important for the development of future applications. And the following step will be to make data fit for purpose for the applications. So the objectives of this demonstrator are to calculate and distribute online information and indicators on the environmental quality of the marine area, obtain new added value data applying innovative algorithms and methods, enable user to perform online and on-the-fly operations, such as select portion of dataset, bring the information together and visualize them, and then scale the working domain to the global. From the internet link, it is possible to access the VLIZ. Several resources are available today, such as the application generator and notebooks available or soon available for the ocean patterns indicators, for the ocean regimes indicators, for the storm severity index and the inorganic carbon indicators. And that's all. Thank you for the attention. For further questions, you can contact us. And now we can see the video in which showcase the features of the VLIZ.
Marine environmental indicators for the marine community. The environmental information available in the marine data infrastructures can be analyzed to produce new added value data and indicators. This way, we can observe the status of the environment, find the anomalies, and highlight the new trends. By improving our understanding of the marine environment, we can support the decision-making process for a healthy ocean and contribute to the development of a sustainable blue growth. From the Internet access link, it is possible to reach the public web page of the service and log into Marine Environmental Indicators Virtual Lab. Inside the VLab are present several functionalities, such as a user application and the development notebooks. With the application MEI generator, it is possible to select the desired output field, the associated input parameters, and the geographical domain of interest. When the information is ready, it is possible to proceed with the submission of the job. The new job will appear inside the My Data section with the associated progress status. At the completion of the job execution, it is possible to access the output data for the downloading and the visualization. The ocean patterns and ocean regimes indicators are an easy way to apply machine learning classification methods to oceanographic data. They have been developed in the form of Jupyter notebooks. You can find them in the VLab shared folders. The workflow is structured into two notebooks, a model development notebook and a prediction notebook. The objective of the prediction notebook is to load a model, classify either ocean profiles or time series into clusters, and to plot the results. First of all, you should choose your model. You can use an already trained model available in the Models folders, or you can design and train your own using the development notebook, where you can optimize the model parameters, for example, the number of classes. In these example notebooks, sample datasets are downloaded from the Copernicus Marine Environment Monitoring Service. The model will classify the data depending on their vertical similarities for the ocean patterns indicator, or depending on their seasonal variability similarities for the ocean regimes indicator. Some useful statistics are also calculated. Results are presented in multiple figures: a representation of the vertical structure of profiles in each class, the spatial distribution of classes which can reveal geographical coincidences or patterns, the robustness of the classification, a pie chart representing the data distribution into the classes, and the temporal distribution of classes that can reveal over other kinds of patterns. Some classes are more common in winter months, for example.
Okay, many thanks, Massimiliano, for this presentation. So now we entered the discussion time. So we received some questions already, some very interested ones relating to many different aspects of the VLIZ and of the demonstrators, relating to the possibility, for instance, to open a new VLE associated to other data and other infrastructures on the top of the D4 science infrastructures. We got questions about the geographical location of the case studies and the provenance of the data, on the about the possibility to process a specific type of marine data, for instance, related to salmon. I mean, and we are addressing them all in our chat and question and answer box, and we'll also public them online, since all these questions are very useful for the community in general. And I'm pleased now to welcome some questions from our experts. So I've introduced them at the beginning. We have Linda Fordain, Sheila Hymans, Robert Huber, and Jaume Piera, who have followed the session today. So I invite them to start stimulating a little bit the audience with their questions or comments. So Linda, if you want to start.
Yes, thank you, Sara. So good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to this very interesting event and workshop. Well, my name is Linda Fordain. I'm an aquaculture consultant at the GFCM, at the General Fisheries Commission of the Mediterranean of the FAO. And I work on allocated zones for aquaculture, ATSA, and GIS, using the GIS and statistics. Okay, so I have a question regarding the aquaculture monitor, okay, presented by Mr. Anton Ellenbroek. We work very closely with our member countries, and I'm sure this tool can be very useful for aquaculture stakeholders and also the administration. So how are the VREs, for example, the one for aquaculture monitoring, secure and build trust, if they are to be used by in-country users, how can they be sure that their data remain confidential until they are ready to be published?
Yes, always a good question. And Lino Pasquale Pagano of CNR-ISTI can tell you everything about the authorization, authentication, and security models that are implemented. But I think that when we release a VRE, we will rely on the technical capabilities of the technology providers. So we think they are tested environments where you can trust the data that you want to manage for yourself are not visible for others. We have some experiences in the past, so we put a lot of effort into making, for instance, the geospatial data secure, which is not so easy on a spatial data infrastructure. But we think that all the output coming out of the services can be managed and reviewed by users of a VRE before they are published in a repository or on a map.
Thank you, Anton. Now maybe Sheila.
Yes, thank you very much. Just like Linda, I just want to thank you all. This was a very interesting discussion. It was really nice to see how the descriptors, the demonstrators are going and what you're planning to do and what you've done so far. It's really fascinating. And my question is a little bit to all of you, but specifically Anton, mainly because you were the one who sort of showed the map of the rest of the world there. This is a really exciting way to bring data together and to really, add value to all of this data. But my question is, what are your plans and how do you foresee that you will be able to develop the capacity that would be needed to actually use this data? Because this is quite a acronym IT heavy way of doing things. And, if you're going to be, there's quite a lot of data, for instance, in Africa or showing there from Africa that would be quite helpful for the people in Africa to use, but I don't know how easy it would be for them to actually use this environment.
Because as you know, FAO stands for Funny Acronym Organization. So, no, the idea behind the interest of FAO is that we want to work also through the FIRMS partnership, and that is like 30+ organizations that actively manage data. They include fisheries organizations, but also more science-oriented people. Not in Europe, but spread out over the planet. And we try to work with them and through them to get the VREs approved and also to guarantee then the uptake. For instance, for sharing of tuna data, we work with regional fisheries bodies. In the Aquaculture Atlas, we try to work with local government institutes that have the data that we can upload from the local institute to merge that with the satellite detected cage locations and some monitoring aspect. So we have this in mind, yes, they drive us, and especially for the global record of stocks and fisheries, this was a huge effort across 3 organizations. and to harmonize and standardize fisheries data is not a sinecure, and we think we are now ready to bring this to a wide audience so people can use the unique identifiers of stocks and fisheries, and the data they find there are reliable and they are validated and checked. So I think maybe that is not of a prime concern if you have to manage a small-scale fisheries on the beach in Mozambique. But I think we have to start with the bigger parties and the bigger players, but the tools that we use in the GRSF are just as applicable if you have to upload a small-scale data set from your beach in Mozambique as you would have if you work in the European Union. So we really try to make this as open and applicable as possible.
Thank you.
And by the way, it is of course a scandal that the EU spends 1.4 billion euros annually on data acquisition, and that is, I think, for a fisherman in Africa, the budget is not even 1/1000th of what is available in the European Union. So we really try to bring this European innovations and also the data and to a as wide an audience as possible.
Thank you, Shayla, and thank you, Anton. And now we have Robert Huber.
Yeah, thank you, Sara, for inviting me and give me the opportunity to take part and to see all these really exciting progress of these demonstrators. This was really impressive. And well, actually, I like this overall approach to putting it all together in virtual research environments and using these Jupyter notebooks and so on. So this is very promising and looks very good. I would like to know how you actually deal with access to the data which was used to produce these results. So because this is frequently a little bit neglected when people use Jupyter notebooks, it is very hard to find out what data actually was used for producing the results. This is also, of course, a result of the sometimes not very fair data. So I would like to know how your approach is. So would it be possible, for example, to find out all the data sets which have been used for an experiment which have been run on your environments using one mouse click and so on? So what is the overall approach by Blue Cloud here?
Maybe I would say, Dick, this is for you. Or Lino.
I think it's more for Lino because it's
yeah.
in the theory.
So thanks, Robert, for the question, first of all. So let me say that our approach, try to, when you share, for example, your notebook, you are not only sharing the notebook, but as presented, in some of the videos, the idea is to collect all the material that is needed to execute it, including, the data that have been used, through the workspace. This would become, a package that can be published, and make available to everyone that will be able to repeat the same experiment, to re-execute it by accessing, the same data set that were used, in the notebook. So our approach, try to create, this link between, the processes, in this case, notebooks, with the input data, to let other people, to access, modify, eventually, this, and re-execute, and also to compare the results. So it is exactly in our, one of our goal, to make, everything accessible when the user decide, to share. In all VLIZ, in all virtual laboratories that we have seen, the user can work, in private mode, let me say. But when he decided to share, with other users, he will share not only, the notebook, but also, the data, the parameters, and the environment where it can be executed. I hope, to have answered, I was clear, answering your question.
Yeah, I was rather trying to find out if you also support, for example, data citation of data sets you have used in your experiments, so something like that, using DOIs and stuff like that.
Yes, there are several several ways to share, something. If you share with another people, no, but if you decide to publish in the catalog and so make it available to everyone, the data will be preserved. They will get, a unique identifier, persistent unique identifier, and they will be, in a way, you will be able to cite, the notebook, but also the data set that were used and so on. So when the user decided to publish in the catalog, it's the moment where, we generate, persistent URLs and DOI if, the user decide to make it open access to everyone. So it's a process, starting from the private environment to the collaborative effort, that you can share with your colleague, to the publication. At the time of publication, yes, we make, we preserve the data that were used and we generate, the proper identifiers.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. And then maybe Jaime Pierre wants to comment or ask something.
Yes, thank you, Sara. Well, first of all, thank you to all the organizers to invite me, because I think it was a really interesting session. And following a little bit the idea of Robert, I'm particularly interested on the following step. I think now it's very clear the access to that information, but if we want to build some policies with these observations and information, we need to know also the credibility or the reality of that observations. And this leads me a little bit, I think there is one question regarding that, is about the quality control of the data. And also I think that the quality control may depend only on the final purpose. As an example, if I'm a oceanographer, probably my requirements of the accuracy of temperature could be quite high, or higher than, for example, if I'm a biologist interested on knowing the effects of the temperature on several taxonomic groups. So I was wondering first, if we plan to formalize a little bit different quality control procedures to different end users, and also, as it happened in remote sensing, that we have like different products with different levels of processing. If you are thinking on these virtual labs to offer this kind of different levels of processing, depending of, okay, this data has been more or less applied this quality control that is commonly used in oceanographic environment, and this quality control is more in biological environment and so on. I don't know, Lino or Dick, do you have any idea on that?
I think it has two elements, let's say. First of all, of course, the basic data that you are going to use. And for this, we are making use, let's say, of existing research infrastructure or blue data infrastructures. And each of them, they have their own standards for validation, for metadata documentation. And as you know, of course, there is a so-called fairness verification process ongoing in Europe, also driven by the European Open Science Cloud requirements. And that means that several of these infrastructures, they are already doing a very good job, but they are improving this, let's say, based upon the requirements from, let's say, the users, that they have to add more metadata. And that means that we are looking at ways to gather more metadata from the field, let's say, because it starts in the field, of course, and then it goes to laboratories or other processing before it ends up in a data center. And that's quite, I would say, quite a cultural change. And of course, we can be helped also by new techniques like sensor web enablement, Internet of Things, those kind of things help you to gather more metadata from the data itself before it ends up in the data center. And then at the data centers, they have, let's say, a certain level of quality control and validation, harmonization. And then, of course, the data is pushed forward, and let's say, and then it goes to more to the working level. In this case, the virtual research environment. People they make a data pool locally. They use the metadata there, but then of course it's the science also, let's say, which is used in the workflow, how they process that data and how they do their quality control at that level. And I think it's the same as we do in AWONET. AWONET also, we have a lot of basic data, but in AWONET itself, we make products, generic products, and also in Copernicus, they make generic products. And in this process, it's not just machines, it's also, let's say, scientists who deal with data coming from different sources, and then have to make decisions or having certain, let's call it objective approaches to be able to make the data more harmonized and fit for their purpose. And one way they do is quality flagging. Again, let's say, so there is already quality flagging in the data centers, but then there's an additional data flagging going on in the product level. And that because they are dealing with, let's say, data coming from different sources, which have different methods, and then they have to find a common approach. And that's a very, I must say, a very challenging operation, because it's also in AIM-Net chemistry, for instance, we have the same thing. We make a product for contaminants. And there are many ways to measure and to define and to document the contaminants. But it's a very precise process. And for that, let's say, with chemistry experts, we are defining some new, let's call it common parameters, and then also conversion rules, how to go from a certain parameter in a certain country to the common parameter, and this way make it more harmonized, homogeneous. And that's so there is and an important thing is, of course, that all these things also have to be documented, and that's part of the work. Let's say, so there are, let's say, additional quality control procedures taking place in the scientific process in the workflows, but also there's a documentation which should be available as part of the provenance, as Lino was explaining, so that people can see what has been done to go from original data to, in the end, let's say, the data that they were used to make the product, and also to reuse that information. But it's as you know, let's say, it's a continuous process. Let's say we are going for absolute perfection, but it's very difficult because we get data from thousands of individuals who are collecting the data in many ways. There are different laboratories. Of course, in chemistry, there are several, let's say, established procedures for monitoring and MSFD, but it's not always the case. So it's at various levels, let's say, there is quality control validation taking place. And there's also, what I like is that there's a more and more this understanding in the pyramid that we go from data, let's say, to knowledge, that everybody has to work with each other. And there are cycles. So let's say, if we discover at production level that there's something wrong with the basic data, there is a feedback through the data infrastructure to the originators to make sure that they realize this mistake and give them a chance to repair, and also for the future to no longer make the same mistakes. And that's part of this, let's call it the European data management fabric, that everybody works together with each other, because it's really a cycle. Let's say those who collect must be more interested in those who are using it, and those who are adding value to it, and those who are using it for decisions. And that's something that I think we are achieving in Europe, that we really have this concerted, let's say, field where all these levels talk to each other and are more aware of this. And let's call that a verification. Overall, it's the verification. Let's say that's a nice term for this, but of course it's much more than just some computers talking to each other, etc., and putting some metadata together.
Okay.
This is an answer for you. It's
yeah. Thank you.
It's quite broad, but I try my best.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you both. And yeah, in fact, there was a question from the audience also related to quality checks, and I see Patricia also replied. It was a question from Pierre Jacquard related to this. So I hope we gave you some kind of overarching response. And in the meantime, I got another couple of comments which I find very interesting. One is from Marc Taconnet from FAO. Feel free to open your microphone, Mark, if you like. Is introducing the point of the international dimension of the data collected and how this should be then taken forward in the strategic thinking for Blue Cloud. And for sure, this is something we'll take on in the roadmap that the colleagues at Seascape are leading. So I also open the floor here for some comments about this.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I didn't think I could speak, but now I see my microphone activated. Thank you. I listened carefully at all these the presentation, and as you know, FAO, we are a quite active partner in this project, and we are really making it a big, well, it's not an effort, it is our mission to bring
the community we work with at global level. We have also a mission to support SDG 1441, the biological stocks. And we work with many communities on fisheries and aquaculture. And so we see and we see a big value in Blue Cloud, in an infrastructure that can bring multidisciplinary sciences, and environmental sciences. As you know, there is an increasing concern in general for the climate change impacts and taking into account, for example, biodiversity and environmental issues in fishery science, and it is much, and we see an increasing number of requests, meteorological information for the fishes in the Caribbean, issues of the sargassum blooms, and we know that the people in this forum are some of them or their colleagues are working on that, biodiversity and marine protected areas. And all the issue of e-agriculture, for example, and e-aquaculture, where the environmental sciences are very much and increasingly utilized. So we see a big value in Blue Cloud and what the European partners can provide. And we see the role of an international organization like FAO to expand and make this available at the global level, and others indeed could do the same in their respective fields. So my point is that I see a little bit of a disconnect between indeed what are the data infrastructure, what the people bring in terms of data. In the way the project is introduced, and indeed it is introduced as it has been designed in the project with European marine infrastructures. But I may be wrong. I'm not really sure that they cover the fishery science part of the marine science, and this is where our role is to bring this element in the project, and as I say, there are many potential users of marine environmental sciences in the fishery and aquaculture field. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Not sure. I mean, I see this as a statement, let's say, more than a real question.
I was wondering, what is the question?
I know, Mark, if you want just to clarify, I think it's a matter of the disconnection between the fisheries science specifically and the marine science in general, right? And how this can be taken at different levels. Mark, sorry, if you can just clarify. I'm not sure if you can still.
Well, maybe I'm never clear. In fact, when in Blue Cloud we talk about marine sciences, what this covers exactly. In fact, I think this is my problem. It is not clear. It is not explicit, and you can read different things according to what part of presentations you follow. And the point I'm making is that fishery sciences are the ones which will bring food to people in the world, and will bring many users potentially for utilization of marine environmental sciences. Yes.
No, I think to answer to Mark a little bit, let's say I think we are quite. Overall, let's say we are looking at services and data and products for society, and which have a binding with the marine domain. So we are not specific fisheries, or we are not specific food, we are not specific, let's say, oceanographic, but we are trying to bring it all together. That's the whole key about the Blue Cloud. Let's say we are building a community. In this community, there will be many players. All these players, they have a role somewhere in this marine or this ocean community, in this blue community, and they bring in something and they take something which fits their purpose. So it's that's why we have different demonstrators. But of course, in the proposal, we only had room for 5 demonstrators, but we also could have made 100 demonstrators. with all kinds of different applications, different groups, and using the same basic data and let's say additional applications, and using the computing power to be able to bring it all in a federated system together and get more knowledge out of these and more added value products out of these. So I would say the definition of marine science, I think, is not so interesting. In fact, in this case, it's simply, for me, it's everything that has to do with the sea, has to do with data, has to do with use of the data, has to do with knowledge generation. And for this, the Blue Cloud is the place, let's say, is a place approach, which we want to expand over time. And we hope that more people will connect to it and become part of it to be able, let's say, as part of the roadmap, let's say, to make a very large community of people that have the same ideas and see the opportunities and make use of those. And not be restricted by definitions or whatever, because that's for me too formal. We work with people. It's an organic, Blue Cloud is an organic thing. It has to grow by the people that bring in energy, that bring in knowledge, that bring in data, that bring in ideas. And it also is an enterprise. Let's say we also need people that see opportunities to develop things with the Blue Cloud from, let's say, maybe a blue environment or a blue economy perspective. And all these people are all welcome. All these ideas are welcome. And we hope that you will share with us those ideas, because we need those ideas for the roadmap. So maybe I should stop now, because it's time for the roadmap, I guess.
Yeah, well, we have another few interesting questions. Maybe we can quickly go over before I leave the floor to Kate and Julia. There was one from Jerry Staton related to so again, a common approach for a consistent framework for attachment of confidence to the product. So we've, let's say, tackled this a bit. Not sure if you want to add anything to what has already been said. So maybe Lino or Anton or any of the demonstrators that has a specific case in mind.
Yes, Sara. I also put an answer in the question and answer panel to Jerry. Let me say that, Blue Cloud collect all the information, but it's always an action of the single, of the owner of the information, decide what to share and in which way to share or publish, any products, generated through Blue Cloud. So in case of confidential data, this can be, can remain, confidential and are not published, automatically. So the user, the end user, has always, the control over the activities and on what, he decided to share and which way, he decided to share. This is, essentially what I replied, to Jerry. And also, let me say that, different, virtual laboratories can have different access policy defined, in their terms of use. So the people joining, that virtual laboratory knows, in advance, in which way then the data in that virtual laboratory, will be managed and shared. So this is completely in the hands, let me say, of the research group or the research community joining, the Blue Cloud VLA.
Thanks, Lino. And now, while we move to the roadmap presentation, so I already invite Kate to take the floor. We have a couple of questions, let's say, similar. They ask one from Sheila and one from Carlos Casorran. How do we work with other projects that are doing something similar? How we synergize with them in the context of the EOSC? So we have a program, let's say, also to work with partner initiatives of synergy initiatives, and we're trying to map them really on a one by one basis, I would say, and understand what are the technical opportunities to collaborate. So we are working also on this aspect, while the EOSC integration, so the integrations of the exploitable results and the technologies of the project in the EOSC marketplace is one of the ensured, let's say, elements that we are going to take forward in the next phase. So it was very quick. We can, of course, go deep into this discussion, but now I leave the floor to Julia, I see. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Sara.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much. So you've heard this morning a whistle-stop tour through the key developments of Blue Cloud, and now this brief final session will look a little bit to the future. So you've already caught a glimpse of the added value and the potential for the web-based open science in the marine domain that Blue Cloud is developing. And you've already heard how this is really building on existing capability, with the added value being that we're collectively connecting across the marine knowledge value chain and building on these existing initiatives to demonstrate the digital solutions. And ultimately, the Blue Cloud in the longer term can really revolutionize and further simplify the access to multidisciplinary data, building on what eModNet, Copernicus and others are already doing, but also connecting that with the analytical tools, the storage, and really democratizing open science and the societal applications that can come with that. So the message really, as we move to this next session, is this is just the start. Blue Cloud is a pilot project. The long-term success and the evolution of Blue Cloud will depend on further expanding and diversifying all of the key actors that are already involved, but to really bring in the wider community so that we're bringing in actors across the marine and maritime sectors, but also within Europe and beyond. And so for this reason, Blue Cloud is developing a roadmap to 2030. You may well have heard of this from last year, because the co-design and the dialogue has already begun. In the first 18 months of the project, all of the partners of Blue Cloud have been really active, and we've been drafting an initial roadmap that's basically been taking discussions and dialogue and feedback from many events, but also a first public consultation with targeted dialogues with expert boards that we've heard from today, and policymakers as well. And what we'd like to do this year is to take this vision further, and to have all of you that are on the call today, but also the wider community, have your say in a public consultation, which will be released in the summer into the early autumn of this year. And so without further ado, I'll now pass to my colleague Julia, who will share some further insight into the roadmap and take you through how we will bring all this feedback together to deliver this vision for the roadmap to 2030. Over to you, Julia.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, and thank you very much for your introduction, Kate. So indeed, over the next 10 minutes, and to wrap up today's event, I would like to introduce you to the Blue Cloud Roadmap to 2030 as the policy document that will seek to deliver a long-term vision for the evolution of Blue Cloud into the future. And well, I have to say, I'm not really here to present the roadmap itself, so spoiler alert, but rather what we would like for you to take home today is, first of all, a good understanding of why we're working on developing a long-term vision for Blue Cloud. So basically, what is the context that is motivating us to think so long ahead into the future? Also, a summary overview of the added value that Blue Cloud will bring into the marine knowledge landscape by 2022, so that we are a bit on the same page regarding what else should we seek to accomplish into the decade. And as we start looking farther ahead, we would like to share with you some of the questions that we're asking ourselves as we strive to build this long-term vision. And the reason why we would like to share these questions with you is that, as Kate has explained, we're hoping that you will help us in answering them. So Blue Cloud is for the marine community, and the marine community should decide together where and how to take it forward. So I will close with a short message explaining how you will soon be able to bring your ideas and contributions into this long-term vision. So let me maybe start at the beginning by restating the obvious, but always important to remember that Blue Cloud is not happening in isolation, but is rather the result of EU action in response to a context of global change. a global context that on the one side brings unprecedented challenges, but then on the other side also brings ever powerful tools to address these challenges in the form of digital technologies and opportunities connected to our global response. As you all know, Europe is embracing this context of challenges and opportunities through the European Green Deal, and from a marine perspective with clear goals ahead, as outlined by Mission Starfish. As it has been said this morning, the EU is not acting in isolation, but aligning action at international level, seeking to contribute to the UN Agenda 2030, also working through the G7 to align action with our closer international allies. But what is really important to us is that there is a common denominator across all these efforts, which is the recognition of the role that science can play as a catalyst of action. Now, that's why the United Nations has called for this to be the decade of ocean science for sustainable development. But it is noteworthy, I would say, that the UN is not calling just for any type of science, but very specifically signposting web-based open science. So science that is shared openly and available for reuse as the science we need for the ocean we want. So we could say that web-based open science is right at the heart of the set of tools that are being recognized as key to deliver on the objectives of the EU Green Deal and the Ocean Decade. It is seen as key to improve our knowledge and understanding of marine ecosystems, so positively impacting all cross-cutting priorities shared by these policy frameworks. And more specifically, and if we, setting aside new opportunities for innovation and economic development, but if we look at how the EU Green Deal, the G7 Future of Oceans, the UN Decade approach the need for advancing our ocean modeling and prediction capabilities, and for ensuring really that data is openly available and accessible to all, it is clear that web-based open science is not only expected to provide the fuel underpinning those capabilities, so the models, the algorithms needed to analyze and make sense of large amounts of data, but it is also seen as the glue that is sustaining the win-win scenarios that provide a strong case and solid arguments for all actors to be willing to work together. This is probably one of the reasons why the European Commission is supporting Blue Cloud. So basically to continue making progress in underpinning all these capabilities. But it is important to remember that we're not starting from scratch. So in the past 30 years, Europe has made huge progress in developing a very solid marine knowledge value chain. And it is the solid foundations of this value chain, which brings hundreds of actors and initiatives together, what makes web-based open science a tangible possibility in Europe today. And our colleague Schaap has already introduced the landscape this morning, so I will not go into it, but just to again emphasize that within this landscape, Blue Cloud is about enhancing the analytical capabilities of Europe's marine knowledge value chain. So basically our ability to make sense of all the ocean observations and data that a wealth of actors are already gathering, managing, making openly available to all, to really transform it into useful, applicable knowledge by leveraging on web-based technologies. There have been other projects in the past seeking to enhance these web-based analytical capabilities, projects like iMarine or Blue Bridge, upon which we are building. But what Blue Cloud is bringing that is new to this landscape, besides, of course, improving the analytical tools that are delivered, is that it is creating mechanisms to connect the value chain upstream in terms of making data available across different Blue infrastructures, more easily discoverable and accessible from within these analytical frameworks, but also making progress downstream, we could say, in terms of improving user interfaces and making these virtual spaces more user-friendly. So basically that the analytical processes that they support can in the future benefit from interactions with a broader range of users, but also be potentially useful to a broader range of audiences. So in terms of added value, as you've seen this morning, Blue Cloud is contributing to specific policy objectives of the EU Green Deal and UN agenda, but also through its services, Blue Cloud is building on the solid foundations of Europe's marine knowledge value chain to continue making progress towards delivering on the needs of successful open science in the marine domain. So basically, Blue Cloud is taking concrete, small maybe, but significant steps to contribute to support the basic foundations of open science through its Blue Cloud Data Discovery and Access Service, simplifying data access, through its Blue Cloud Catalog, which will make a wealth of analytical resources available for reuse, through its virtual research environments and virtual labs, which are providing a strong analytical frameworks for different users to come and work together, but also through this community of early open science practitioners, which can hopefully inspire you, but also others to join in the future. But having arrived to this point, the question that we're now asking ourselves is, what next? So if we believe, as we do, that Blue Cloud should be a stepping stone towards something bigger, how should we seek to evolve our efforts? And as we said at the beginning, we would really like to build a broad consensus to jointly decide where and how to take these efforts forward. There are possibly a number of things that we are confident that we should aim for. So for us, it is clear that in the future, having 5 Blue Cloud demonstrators is not enough. We need thousands of demonstrators. We need a wealth of applications of open science in the marine domain. So no longer showcasing, but actually delivering science-based solutions and innovations to address policy objectives at a proper scale. We also know that we need to grow the Blue Cloud community into a thriving community of practitioners, so an expanding community that contributes to win buy-in for open science, building a stronger case for data sharing, opening new opportunities for data ingestion, attracting new users and advocates to the community. We know there are still, and there will be still, outstanding unresolved challenges in terms of making marine data fair and open to all. So we will need to continue supporting efforts in that direction. And we know that we will need to continue to align with ongoing efforts to make blue data infrastructures and infrastructures fully interoperable towards making the wealth of resources produced by the community really available anywhere along the marine knowledge value chain on demand. So this is a little bit the skeleton or the strategic framework around which we are building the Blue Cloud roadmap. So working around these 4 pillars. But even with this clear picture in mind, we still have a lot of questions that we need to respond before we can come forward, say, with a sound travel plan. So questions like, what uses and applications of open science in the marine domain should we prioritize? Late last year, we asked the Blue Cloud community for ideas on use cases or demonstrators that could be developed in the future. And we did receive lots of great ideas. But because resources are scarce in the future, we may have to think strategically and be smart about what use cases we prioritize. And maybe we'll have to go for those that can deliver higher societal impact and that maybe have a higher probability of success. Or if we want to grow a thriving open science community in the marine domain, who do we really need on board and how do we win their attention? And during our initial stakeholder dialogue, it also became clear that Blue Cloud is expected to cater to marine scientists first, but that in the longer run, it should also cater to policymakers, to blue economy SMEs, to industry. So we really have to think, how do we evolve our efforts to make sure that the virtual open science environments and the rules of participation that are developed are enticing, so not only for scientists, but also to those other open science practitioners and users that we wish to attract. And if we want to continue advancing towards fair and open data in the marine domain, how should we evolve Blue Cloud's assets to support data ingestion efforts of European blue data infrastructures, or how should the Blue Cloud assets evolve to align with other international efforts? And finally, if federating blue data and infrastructures is indeed the way forward, how do we evolve Blue Cloud's assets to include the wealth of data catalogs from across all European marine data and research infrastructures? How can we enable Blue Cloud's catalog of analytical methods, algorithms, applications to be deployed in EOSC, of course, but also really anywhere? Can we make marine virtual labs easily deployable across supercomputing platforms in Europe? Or how should we evolve Blue Cloud's assets for full integration into the future EU pilot DTO that is coming up soon? So as you will have seen, we have lots of questions, and the purpose of the Blue Cloud roadmap to 2030 is to provide a common response from the marine community, to come forward with a shared vision, but also hopefully with a shared plan. As Kate has mentioned, we are now working to deliver a first early draft of the Blue Cloud roadmap to 2030, which we will be discussing with our external stakeholder and expert board in May. Our plan is to release this early draft for consultation in June. So not only to gather your feedback, but as I said, actually to invite you to help us answer the wealth of questions that we need to respond to, really shape up proper recommendations for the decade to come. And as we've said, we really would like to bring in your voice to shape this roadmap. So I would say, please stay tuned for the launch of the consultation in June, which will be announced through the Blue Cloud website and social media channels. The final Blue Cloud roadmap will be delivered to the European Commission in 2022, which means we have plenty of time to bring in your suggestions and those of other stakeholders on how we can make the most of this thriving context for the marine community. In the process, we hope to do so without losing track of our Northern Star, let's say, which is now captured in essence by mission Starfish, but that really throughout the centuries has also been many times beautifully captured by the wisdom of the times. So we know that we need oceans to keep us wealthy, but most of all, we need oceans to keep us healthy. So we really look forward to working together with you to evolve Blue Cloud in support of this shared mission. And that's all from me for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kate. Thank you very much, Julia, for this presentation. Thank you all our speakers and our guests for attending this workshop, which I found very interesting and very stimulating. I think we can close now, maybe by addressing just the last question we've received, that it's about the European Open Science Cloud again, and how we integrate with that, and of course, Blue Cloud agenda, and the Blue Cloud roadmap will integrate and connect and align the objectives with the EOSC strategic agenda. Blue Cloud is one of the pillars of the EOSC. The assets and the services will be integrated in the EOSC marketplace. So, of course, this is part of the global vision that Julia just presented. And with that, we really thank you all. We invite you to stay in touch with us. We have a website, we have the social media channels and info at email to contact us, our newsletter. We will collect all your questions and publish them online and try to make best use of them. Thank you again to our experts who joined today and to all our colleagues at Blue Cloud Consortium for this very interesting workshop. Thank you very much, and have a nice afternoon and rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.